Hey everyone, it's Twitch65 again, and today we look at my experience with speed paints for Zombicide Zombies. Back in February of this year, I received my big box of Zombicide's newest iteration, Want It Undead or Alive. We've played a few games with this version, and it's probably our second favorite of the Zombicide games, with Black Plague being our first. One of the things missing is having all the gray plastic figures not painted. And since I knocked out everything I owned for Black Plague during our modern time Black Plague, I needed to get a jump on these new fellas. I previously painted each zombie as an individual, then dirtied them up a bit with a dark tone wash and added blood splatter. See these Season 1 modern zombies as Exhibit A. I started my painting by picking one of each zombie sculpt and doing a black and white theme. I started with a primer coat of flat black camo paint from Rust-Oleum. I then moved on to a dark gray heavy brush, kind of an overbrush if you will. From my research, it appears the best results with this style of painting, that being contrasty paints, is achieved by really diving into the preparation steps. And the speed part of speed painting comes from a liberal use of dry brushing and the staining effects of the speed/contrast paint itself. And then I followed this up with a lighter gray light dry brush, and finally a very light, only from the top dry brush of pure white. It worked well enough, and I toyed with the idea of going back to black and white and applying an overall sepia filter over the zombies to give them that old cowboy western look. So here's my starting point for the two test subject zombies. I started with painting the skin, opting to use malignant green for that dead and decaying zombie look. First thing I noticed is that it's really hard to distinguish the darker tones from one another on the wet palette, and often had to dab the brush on a paper towel to see what color I was selecting. The second thing I noticed was how vibrant the colors are, which may be due to the nature of the paint composition, but it's the main reason I don't like miniatures painted in this style in the first place. But we soldier on. Heck, if they look terrible, I can reprime and repaint. Two other things I noted. You really must stay within the lines. Any crossover into areas you don't want that shade, and it's going to be very hard to get the coverage of the other color over the initial color. The paint itself is just really transparent. Now I can see this working really well if you're going for a wet blended look and kind of transitioning between colors, but not so good for most of the applications I paint. The second thing I noticed is this reactivation thing is real, at least with the set I picked up. I think they worked out that issue with the 2.0 version of these paints, and I really didn't see it until I added some sandy color craft paint to the bases. My solution was to hit the minis with a coat of matte varnish to seal in all the paint, and after it dried, I added a second coat of the craft paint, and it looked fine, especially for hordes of game miniature zombies. After that had dried, I added a second coat of varnish to protect everything from handling damage. I can't say that this exercise has changed my mind about contrast style painting, but the rest of the zombies will be finished off with these paints, and then they'll most likely get put away and used extremely sparingly. I would just like to say, for the record, that while these style of paints aren't my cup of tea, they will fill a void for some painters. They do not require a large learning curve, but the colors and effects just don't work for my eye. Remember that part of hobbying is to explore and expand, and that means that you will have stuff from time to time that just doesn't work for you or your current needs. Doesn't mean it's wrong, just means it's not working out for you. So please take some time to enjoy your hobby and expand your repertoire and just have fun. Here's a picture of one of each of the zombie types painted up with the same technique. If you enjoyed this video, please add a like and subscribe.